The quarterback conversation in Detroit just took a turn that nobody saw coming, and I'm sitting here with information that's going to make every single Lions fan rethink what Brad Holmes might be planning for this franchise's future. We're talking about draft strategy, we're talking about long-term vision, and we're talking about a player whose name has been circulating in scouting circles as someone who could completely change the trajectory of an NFL team. Stay locked in because what I'm about to break down involves a potential game changer at the most important position in football, and it connects directly to the Detroit Lions in ways that are absolutely fascinating. Welcome to Lions News Fan Report, where you get the freshest updates, the deepest analysis, and all the insider information about our beloved Detroit Lions. I'm here every single day bringing you everything you need to know about the team we live and breathe for, and today's topic is going to spark some serious debate in Lions Nation. Let me start by addressing the elephant in the room. This season hasn't gone exactly as we hoped. The injuries have been brutal, the losses have been tough to swallow, and there are legitimate questions about where this team goes from here. But here's the thing about the Detroit Lions organization under Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. They're always thinking 3 steps ahead. They're not just reacting to what's happening right now. They're planning for sustained success, building something that can compete year after year, and that means making smart decisions in the draft that set us up for the future. The NFL draft is where championships are built. You can make all the free agent signings you want, you can trade for veterans, but the teams that consistently compete at the highest level are the ones who nail their draft picks. They identify talent early, they develop that talent properly, and they create a pipeline of young players who can contribute immediately while also having the upside to become stars. That's exactly what Brad Holmes has been doing since he arrived in Detroit, and all indications suggest he's about to do it again in a major way. Now, I've been diving deep into mock draft scenarios, analyzing potential trade-up and trade-down opportunities, looking at which positions we need to address, and evaluating which players in this upcoming draft class fit what Dan Campbell wants to do with this team. And I've come across something that's absolutely intriguing, something that could represent a significant investment in our future at the most critical position in all of football. Before I get to that specific player, let me walk you through the broader draft strategy that makes sense for the Lions. We're likely picking somewhere in the middle of the first round, depending on how the rest of the season shakes out and whether we make the playoffs through one of those 14 different scenarios that are still mathematically possible. That draft position gives us options. We can stay put and take the best player available. We can trade down and accumulate more picks. Or we can get aggressive and trade up for a player we absolutely love. I've been looking at a scenario where the Lions trade down from the 17th pick to the 19th, with the Chargers picking up an additional third-round selection in the process. That would give us more ammunition to work with throughout the draft. At 19, we could target someone like David Bailey from Texas Tech, an edge rusher with explosive athletic ability who leads the nation with 70 pressures this season. That's the kind of production you can't ignore, and it addresses a position of need for us moving forward. But here's where things get really interesting, and here's where Brad Holmes might decide to say, forget the conventional wisdom, and make a bold move. I'm talking about trading back into the first round, giving up our second-round pick, and a future first to move up and grab the best interior offensive lineman in the draft. Oliva Vega-Ioane from Penn State is a generational talent at guard who's allowed just 26 pressures and 3 sacks in 4 years of college football. That's the kind of dominance that translates immediately to the NFL level. Securing the offensive line is crucial because everything we do offensively starts there. Jared Goff needs time to throw. Our running backs need lanes to run through. And if we're going to develop a young quarterback at some point, we need to make sure we have elite protection in place. Ioane would give us that, and he'd fit perfectly into a scheme where we potentially move Tate Ratledge to center and create one of the most formidable interior offensive lines in the entire league. Now let's talk about that third-round pick we acquired by trading down with the Chargers, because this is where the quarterback conversation comes into play. This is where Brad Holmes could make a selection that changes everything about how we think about the quarterback position in Detroit. This is where a player named Lenor Sellers enters the picture. Lenor Sellers is a quarterback from South Carolina who started this season being projected as a potential first-round pick. He's got all the physical tools you're looking for in a modern NFL quarterback. He's got size, he's got arm strength, he's got mobility, and he's got the kind of competitive fire that you want leading your offense. But South Carolina's offense struggled so badly this season that they actually fired their offensive coordinator mid-year. And Sellers' draft stock has taken a hit because of circumstances that were largely beyond his control. Here's why that matters for the Detroit Lions. When a talented player falls in the draft because of external factors rather than limitations in their own game, that creates value. That creates an opportunity for a smart organization to swoop in and grab someone with first-round talent in the third round. And everything I'm hearing suggests that Lenor Sellers is exactly the type of player Brad Holmes loves to target in these situations. Think about what the Lions were hoping Hendon Hooker would become when we drafted him. We wanted a developmental quarterback with upside, someone who could sit behind Jared Goff for a year or two, learn the system, and potentially emerge as our quarterback of the future. Hooker hasn't developed the way we hoped, and that's okay. Not every pick works out exactly as planned. But that doesn't change the fact that we still need to be thinking about life after Jared Goff, even if that's still a few years away. Lenor Sellers represents another chance to find that developmental quarterback prospect. The difference is Sellers might have even more upside than Hooker had coming out of college. He's younger, he's got more experience as a starter, and he's shown flashes of brilliance even in a dysfunctional offensive system at South Carolina. Put him in an organization like Detroit, where we have excellent coaching, a strong supporting cast, and a proven track record of developing young players, and you could have something special. The beauty of drafting Sellers in the third round is that it doesn't put pressure on him to contribute immediately. Jared Goff is our quarterback, and he's going to be our quarterback for the foreseeable future. Sellers would have the luxury of sitting, learning, developing his game, and working on the areas where he needs improvement without the weight of starting expectations. That's the ideal development path for a young quarterback, and it's exactly what successful organizations do to ensure long-term stability at the position. I also want to address the rest of this mock draft scenario because it shows how the Lions could address multiple needs while still being aggressive about improving the roster. After securing Sellers in the third round, we could use our fourth-round pick on Xavier Chaplin from Auburn, an offensive tackle with starting potential who could develop into a long-term solution. The Lions have scouted Auburn multiple times this season, so we know there's genuine interest there. Doubling up on edge rushers by taking Boubacar Traoré from Notre Dame in the fourth round makes sense, given that Josh Paschal and Levi Onwuzurike might not be back next season. The Lions have been to Notre Dame 3 times this year, and Traoré is the kind of player who fits what we do defensively. Adding depth at tight end with Marlon Klein from Michigan addresses the injury issues we've faced at that position. Safety depth with Wyatt Williams Jr. from Ole Miss gives us insurance in the secondary. A cornerback like Malik Muhammad from Texas could contribute on special teams immediately. And Desmond Reed from Pitt as a late-round running back makes sense given how many times we've scouted that program. But let's bring this back to Lenor Sellers, because that's the pick that would generate the most discussion and debate. Some fans will say we don't need a quarterback, that Goff is our guy, and we should focus entirely on building around him. I understand that perspective, but I also think it's short-sighted. The NFL is a quarterback-driven league, and you can never have too many options at that position. If Sellers develops into a legitimate starting caliber quarterback, that's either our future signal caller or a valuable trade asset. If he doesn't pan out, we used a third-round pick on the attempt. That's a risk worth taking. The other factor to consider is that Sellers might not even declare for the draft. There's a real possibility he enters the transfer portal and looks for a new college situation where he can rebuild his draft stock. But if he does declare, and if he's available in the third round, the Lions would be foolish not to seriously consider taking a chance on that kind of talent and upside. My honest assessment is that Brad Holmes is going to be aggressive in this draft. He's going to look for ways to add impact players while also thinking about the future. The Lenor Sellers possibility represents exactly that kind of forward-thinking approach. It's not flashy, it's not going to generate immediate headlines, but it's the kind of smart, strategic move that could pay massive dividends down the line. Now I want to hear from you, Lions Nation. How do you feel about the possibility of drafting Lenor Sellers in the third round? Do you think we should be investing draft capital in a developmental quarterback, or should we focus entirely on immediate impact players? Would you be excited about the overall draft strategy I outlined, with trades to accumulate picks and address multiple positions? What positions do you think are the biggest priorities for us in this draft? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because I genuinely want to know where you stand on this. If you want to stay on top of every draft rumor, every scouting report, and every potential move the Lions might make, you need to subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update, because I'm here every day bringing you the analysis and insights you won't find anywhere else. Share this video with your fellow Lions fans, because these are the conversations we need to be having as we look toward the future. Let's keep building, let's keep believing, and let's trust that Brad Holmes has a plan to get us back to championship contention. One Pride, and I'll see you in the next one.